Alrighty, welcome everybody to this new series called Seeing Your Series. This first episode is featuring the current European champions and one of the best teams in the world, Jonathan and Lucas. We're going to be seeing back their game versus Willy Wonka at ETS Budapest. And the main ambition of this series is to give Jonathan and Lucas, who reached out to have this session, 3 or 4 takeaways that they can now start to work on and try to implement before their next tournament. And if this is something that interests you, then feel free to check out the description where you can also get your game seen if that's something you would like. All right, without further delay, let's get into the first episode.
So I've got your game, the Willy Wonka, which is going to be the first game we review. And I have some notes that we're going to go through. And every time I'm watching or trying to see anyone's footage, it's mainly I'm just trying to look for patterns. Like, is there several things that keep coming up again and again that's quite fixable or something that just needs to be talked about to improve upon? And there's obviously loads of small things, but the big ones are the ones that are underlined. And those are the things we're going to talk about quite a bit throughout this session. So the best thing we can do is just start watching, and then as these moments come up, I'm going to just bring them up. All right, let's get into it. So we just watch it all back at one speed, and to give context for anyone else who's watching, this is the quarter final, I believe, right? At ETS Budapest.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the first clip I want to go back to because this happens quite a lot for you guys. This is actually your starting positions. So Johnny, you can see you're starting here with both feet in like a athletic stance. But every time you start in this position, what's going to happen almost every time is you're going to initiate one foot in front of the other, and then you're going to start making your movement. And just this small detail of you now going, right now you go right foot pushing off, and then you're pushing off your left. This is much slower than if you'd already started in the position where you have one foot in front of the other. This small minor detail just cost you, let's say, half a second. And that's sometimes the difference in being able to get this. And both of you have this tendency from time to time. This is a good position here by Lucas. You can see, Lucas, you're now one foot in front of the other and you're ready to push off this back foot because you're most of the time going to be going forward. It's very rare you go backwards. And if you do, you usually have enough time or height to get there. But this is going to be a bit of a pattern that isn't always occurring, but it's happening quite a lot. And as we watch through this is, again, now the next point, Johnny. This is just costing you a few finite seconds to get towards whether you're being in system or just to get out of the way. Because every time you start in this athletic stance with both feet, your initial movement is almost always going to be one foot forward and then you push off. Yeah. And you could already start if you wanted here.
Yeah. I think you just, by doing it, you're like taking a little bit more time to move forward, right?
Exactly.
But this really, really weird side out.
Yeah, I think we're going to get to a couple of these in a second. I think I just want to show one or two more of these patterns just so you're aware of it. Just because I want to also show you the consequence of it. So same thing here, Lucas, starting now both feet, and you're going to spend the first couple of seconds as this ball struck. You're going to put either your right foot or left foot forward right now, and then you're going to push off your back leg. So you decide to now push left foot back, and now you push off. So you could have already started in this position and you've been much quicker to move. It's only until the ball has traveled in the air halfway towards Emil that you started moving, when actually you can move on the movement of Johnny's toss. Like that's when you get licensed. Of course, you're waiting to see where this ball is landing before you know where to go. But theoretically, you could move up at that point. And right now you're spending some time preparing to move instead of moving just because of this starting position. And the consequence of this is when this ball is set from Emil, which is from around, let's say, 3 feet, just outside the no-hit zone, Johnny's caught in motion, so you're not fully in your athletic stance when the ball's being set. If you have to theoretically go left right now, which you actually do in this case, Johnny, you're going to be slower moving left because you're going to have to put that right foot down to push. You want to have, ideally, both feet down, hit slow, at the point of contact of the set. So by the time the apex has been met, you can now maximize your time you have to get towards your range, which for you is this way, Johnny, to go towards the lefty push. And this small starting position, Lucas, cost you the ability to get in system. And now you're playing catch up. And now you don't miss this pull by a lot. Had you been one step closer before the set was made, you would have had more time to potentially get towards this pull and make a better effort to get to this max pull range. Any thoughts or any things on that before we move on to one of the next topics?
Oh, completely.
I think that's great.
Completely clear. I think I usually try to start in such a position. So yeah, really bad that I'm lazy in this case.
Yeah, when you're playing for some of the day and you guys are hitting so many great serves, there's sometimes not a need for you to get these small margins on your side. But of course, as the further up you go, then you might end up building that bad habit because you're watching Johnny, you're watching Lucas ace a lot, and now you're watching players serve receive so well that now that small margin is costing you the difference of getting in system or not. And that's usually the small margins at the top level when you start getting round 16 and beyond. So cool. That was the first thing. Again, that's pretty much covered. That's really nice. There might be some more examples later, but you now know the main thing that I'm talking about. Just try and start one foot in front of the other. So now you have the opportunity to move quicker to get in system. So you're not playing catch up. The next big thing is that rally that we saw at 50, because this happened a couple of times for you, Johnny. Just when we talk about efficiency in moving. So right now, this ball is set over rim. You have the opportunity to either jump and get this on the way up, the standing point B touch, or run it down at point C. And it's fine that you make a good decision to run this down because this is outside your vertical reach and you don't jump, so you maximize your time to turn and run. But then as soon as you turn and run, this should ideally now be a left-handed touch because it goes left side of your nose. And what you can do when you now go side on, so let's say theoretically you are here at the boundary line, what you can do is you can get this touch with your left hand and you can push off your left foot and get to the net way quicker. Instead, it looks like you rotate now 180 degrees and you take this with your right hand. And now as you take this with your right hand, you now have to turn a full 180 degrees again to run back from the net. Instead of turning side on, sort of like Lucas is now, touching it with your left hand and then moving back 90 degrees again. So that way you're only even moving 90 degrees out, 90 degrees back, instead of 180 turn, 180 turn again. And this is just a small detail, but again, look how close you just clip front rim. By the time Lucas sets you, you're at the 7-foot line. If you'd managed to take this with your left hand, you would now probably be over by the no-hit zone line because you would have been able to push off that left foot at the same time as making contact, like simultaneously, versus instead having to break, turn, and now you're a little bit greater from the net and really out of system, which makes it a lot more footwork demanded. This happened a couple of times, which is just why I'm bringing it up a bit, because it also happens if we look at 430. It's just another good example. So this one, again, you turn, and this is fine. It goes right over your nose, but it's just slightly left of your nose. And it's like I like to say the principle point C of left side of your nose, left-handed touch. Right side of your nose, right-handed touch. That way you're only ever moving 90 degrees side on. And this is sort of left side of your nose. But you again want to take with your right hand. And now that costs you to go 180 degrees turn and then 180 degrees back. And now it's really hard for you to get back to the net. Even though your landing zone is decent here, Lucas can maybe give you a little bit more time by taking it a tiny bit lower. But regardless, you're very far just because of this small point C mechanic, which would help you massively.
Yes. At that point, I even slipped while turning. I remember.
Slipped and there was a lot of wind.
Yeah. And so for someone, and for being as ambidextrous as you are, Johnny, it's like there's the benefits of taking this left hand is just so beneficial just because it's shorter to turn, easier to turn back, and you're going to be quicker to the net. Some people would say, oh, but I'm so much better with my right hand. And that's understandable. But if you want to reach your ceiling in Johnny, which in Roundnet, Johnny, which I'm sure you do, then you want to become as efficient as possible. And being as efficient as possible, there would be a left-handed touch. So you can get back to the net a lot quicker.
That's for sure. I have to learn that.
Sorry, one question for this one.
Yeah.
Like if you scroll back a little bit to when Rasmus hits, if like maybe Jonathan is a little bit more to his left,
Mhm.
and he can like run with his right hip in front
Absolutely.
and do the same on the right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's for me, it usually determines which way this ball goes of your nose. If it goes left side of your nose, then you turn 90 degrees to your left. If it's the right side of your nose, then it's 90 degrees towards your right. And that just orientates your body quicker and dictates which hand you touch it with.
Yeah. But I mean, like, ideally, we would be in a position where it is more likely for us to have to turn or to get it over our right nose, because then we can use our right hand as well, which would be overall like higher percentage of getting
Well,
a good touch, right?
ideally, you're just not in control of that, unfortunately. Like if you're in position, you just can't control whether it's going to be left hand or right side of your nose. If you want to make everything right side of your nose, then Johnny would have to come all the way over here. But now you guys would be leaving such a huge space for Rasmus to hit an easy shot. You guys are trying to opposite each other, get back in system. And so now if you're trying to get back in system, you can't really always dictate whether or not this ball is going to go right side or left side of your nose. So you have to try to be
Yeah, for
comfortable
sure.
going both sides.
I'm just thinking about like being more on the pull in that case, because then it's more likely to go over your right or to your right side of your nose, you know?
Yes, although I think we're going to cover and talk more about like the getting in system part, especially in this rally a little bit later, and then we can build on that in a little bit, if that's all right with you. Okay, and then next big thing I want to discuss was, so a couple of times you guys were shuffling out of system, which we know is a good tactic to now put the defense who want to play open defense out of system. So right now you choose to shuffle in front of Emil. Instead of being exactly opposite Lucas, you decide to shuffle in front of Emil to force them to basically play pull and push. And if they aren't able to switch to pull and push, they're probably going to get caught in motion. They're probably going to get caught not really knowing what to do because it just happens very quickly. But anytime this happens and you get the opportunity to get out of system, Johnny, to now put that offensive team into pull and push, then this set must be much lower. I like to always think about like the rule of if ever my hitter is in system, the ball should never go above nose height. Because as soon as this ball now goes above Johnny's nose, he now, at this moment right now, he's actually probably struggling to see the nets and the defense. He can't probably see Emmett anyway because he's in the pool, but he's struggling to see the nets. And this is just a little bit of a tougher hit with there being so much height. But not only is it hurting Johnny a little bit, it's mainly giving Emil and Rasmus a lot of time to now try to get to the range and apply some pressure to Johnny. So it should almost be like a thumb rule of any time you shuffle out a system. And now, bang, this set shouldn't be above nose eye line. And now they never have enough time, especially this player. When we play against pull and push, which Emil and Rasmus are now in because you forced them into pull and push, your perfect landing zone is either in this short sweet spot. We call it the gray zone when we play against pull and push. Because if you put this ball anywhere in this short sweet spot, Emil has zero chance to affect much of the range, especially if you set it quickly. If you set it very high, Emil has some time to maybe get some of the range. But if you set this ball very quickly right here to Jonathan, he's making it a 1v1 Rasmus, and he has a lot of range to be just one defender with all this options. But this height gives Emil the opportunity to come in, take some of the range. Jonathan sees Emil comes in and now tries to go off very few squares. Like will inevitably happen sometimes, when we go off minor squares, we're going to get a roll up or a lip up. And that will inevitably happen. Well, we could always say, oh, we just clean up our form so it's easier to hit off a few squares. And that's one answer. But also, I think the first domino is just make it easier for one another. Put this ball either on the right-hand sweet spot, because it's shortening the distance between you and Johnny. When you do shuffle out system, this is the preferable sweet spot because it's the closest one towards you both. And so therefore you can set it even lower on this sweet spot than the left-handed sweet spot because your distance between one another is closer. Or you set short sweet spot and you just completely eliminate this player from the game. But the most important thing is that height again. Does that all make sense?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Then just because there's a couple more, just to really see it, just because I want you guys to see the pattern. It's now on this next rally. Oh, it must have been on the one before, sorry. Okay, that was Rasmus going out system. And then, or I should have 339. Yeah. So first point of the game, you're looking over your shoulder, you're seeing what Rasmus is doing, you're trying to shuffle in front of him to ensure they can't play open defense, which they preferably do. Now, Rasmus just chooses hard. Rasmus just chooses, I'm going to be in this spot. Now, again, we need a lower set and just give them no chance. Just to keep that above eye line, keep it nice and flat. There's no way if you set this ball anywhere right-handed sweet spot or over the rim, that Emil can affect any of this range. And there's no way Rasmus is part of this. He's already committed to one side of Lucas. Instead of being neutral, where he could potentially get to both pools, he's committed.
The righty is like so open right now.
Yeah. And you end up setting it there, Jonathan. And so this is a great landing zone. And you're very aware of where Rasmus is, which is why you set this ball here. But can you, again, just don't break Lucas's eye line. Give them zero chance.
Yeah.
Especially when you guys are shuffling out a system. Because that way you're doing it to eliminate one defender. If you're doing it to eliminate one defender, don't let that defender come back in by setting it too high. Next one, which is a really fun principle and a really fun thing to be aware of that happens quite a lot. And we don't utilize as much as possible. All right, here. You guys aren't really in open defense. Neither did you have the time to. And this happens during a rally. So Emil and Rasmus, they're trying to get opposite. They're trying to play open or pull and push. But the thing is during the chaos of a rally, and as soon as Emil ran in front of you, Jonathan, you're now in a position where both of you guys are one side of the offensive team. And if you're both caught one side, it's quite hard to play open defense because open defense would be one in between them and one in between them on this side on Rasmus's open shot as he approaches the net. You guys are just stuck now in what we say is pull and push, where you're opposite and Luke's is behind. This is where you guys need to, and we all need to as athletes, and this is where our defense has so much more room to grow, is being able to say to each other, switch. We now know our roles and responsibilities change. We're no longer in open anymore. Jonathan, your job is now, your push role is your primary job. Lucas, the pull is your primary job. You take the open together. Jonathan, you take the low open. And Lucas, you take the mid to high opens. And Jonathan, you know that Lucas is probably going to be late towards his range because he's stuck behind the hitter. This is the consequence of playing pull and push. Lucas can't always be within the distance of the ball to the net when he has the hitter in front of him. And so therefore, he's probably going to be late towards his range quite often. And so if Lucas is going to be a little bit late towards his range, i.e. any pool player is going to be late towards their range when playing the pool role, then this is where the principle of, Jonathan, you've got to be prepared to compensate and take not just your 50%, but take more than your 50%. And this often means being now more at point A to take more range, even if it means less time. And so in this position, this would have been a great scenario, and there's several of these that we're going to see throughout these clips, where if you just guys can't get back into open defense, that's okay. Switch. Jonathan, you now come close to the net, and now you're taking more than your 50%. Because even if you take your 50% at point B, Johnny, which you almost get to, this is a pretty good point B spot. Right arm will take the max push, left arm takes the mid open. But your partner, he can't get towards his perfect point B because he's greater than the distance of the ball to the net, which often happens when we play pull and push. So you've then got to compensate and come closer. Otherwise, there's going to be gaps in your defense, which, of course, great hitters are going to find. Does that make sense?
Totally, yes. Should have just committed and
just take that range, enjoy.
Had to go for the block.
Yeah.
We have to notice when we're in push and pull, and then like the push person just like always, as Kazi does, goes for armbar really in front of the net.
Yes, exactly. In pull and push, only does the player back off the net when you're confident your pool player is taking their full 50%. If your pool player isn't taking their full 50, you've got to take more.
Yeah.
If the set is like really off net, of course you can go back, but
yes, exactly.
Usually,
yes, either a lot of height or off net, and then you can go short and long principle. And so this is another great one. Look, this is a switch. Look how you guys get pinned. You're not on the open, not on the open. It's just during the chaos of a rally. And this is why we must understand the principles of pull and push in this sport. Even if it's not an objectively better system than open defense, we've still got to be aware of our roles and responsibilities within it. Because whether we like it or not, there will be times in the chaos that we find ourselves, bang, in pull and push. And so now, Johnny, you're now coming close. You're X minus 1. Distance to the ball's net is X. You've got to be X minus 1 to compensate for Lucas being X plus 1. So you're still in system. And now, Johnny, you're responsible for the push and the low opens. Lucas, you need to read that set and then get to the pull and the high opens. Now, fortunately, this set is too low that you end up Rasmus not having the time either to make his hit. But Jonathan, you do a great job in coming close, taking your range plus more. And Lucas, you make a great read. So if that ball had been struck, whether it be in the max pull line or push, you guys are in fantastic positions. And so that's just another really good indicator of, that's when we switch. And I've got one more example here. And this is hard. It takes a bit of training to train it. It's like, we can't do it. But again, this is going to happen quite often, especially when many players like to shuffle in front of us.
Yeah.
But to combat this, we now must be neutral. So, Lucas, I'd rather you have one foot in between Emil's legs right now. That way, if he does set Emil on the left-handed sweet spot, you're responsible for this lefty pull. Right now, he does get set on this left side. You guys are very much struggling because, Jonathan, it's a long way for you to go to this lefty pull. When Lucas, you're too much on one side. We like to stay neutral, what we call it, 1 foot between the legs of the hitter. And then, Jonathan, you should now come a lot closer, compensating for Lucas being X plus 1. So you can be X minus 1, knowing that you're probably going to have to take more than your 50% anyway. So you're going to have to be at point A a lot of this time anyway. This ball then does get set.
No.
And then, it's just the consequence of now we're not really in open. We're not really in pull and push. It's like you're defending this push now, Johnny. Lucas, you're sort of more towards the open than the pull roll. And then you back up with Rasmus instead of cutting his front. Johnny now takes this open. And of course, this push is going to be completely free. But it all came from that first domino in just, can you guys recognize it's a pull and push situation? And also, if we then jump back to what we talked about earlier, Lucas, can you be more ready to try to adapt to not be caught in this situation? Jules had a really good tip in not being caught here in starting behind the setter. Anytime Johnny goes wide lefty or step left lefty, a lot of the time this serve receiver is going to go here. It's going to go somewhere around this zone. And Lucas, you need to make a decision. You either try to get between them, stay on your open position, or you go this side of Rasmus, or you play pull and push. And right now you sort of get pinned where you can't be within the distance towards the net. You can't be between them. And so therefore you're really struggling to do anything defensively just because of this first domino. I think had you started behind Rasmus, if this serve receive goes all the way over here and Rasmus sets from here, Lucas, you come inside this way and you go from this way in here. If now Johnny hits a righty or whatever serve, but the landing zone now goes right where it did, well, you could actually come this side of Rasmus and you could come around this way and you'd be here by the time the ball was set. Johnny would see you and go one more step towards your left. And now you're still in open defense because they're out of system. But you guys would still be in system instead of you guys being out of system too. And that then
I think here I might like being push and pull more though, in case the receive is where it is.
Yeah.
But like another question, like here, where, like if I was in the neutral position that you said, where like one of my feet is under or in between Emil's feet,
yes,
where do I go for this set?
Great
do
question.
I go?
Yeah.
Because I don't know where I would go here. Like I'm stuck behind Rasmus. I can almost maybe call him hinder there, but
yeah. Well, this is exactly the landing zone we talked about earlier. This is exactly the landing zone you want to land when you play against pull and push. It lands short, sweet spot, and Emil has now so much range in this direction to beat Johnny. And so if you was in pull and push right now and you was neutral, you would now have to choose one side to help Johnny. But this would be Johnny's sole responsibility to take as much as he can. But Johnny's thinking about defending the open, so therefore he gives the push away. Had you defended the real hard push, Johnny, and had your arms covering the low open on your right and your left, like we see Kazi and Tim and many players do very well, then he either hits it straight into your body, Johnny, if you're more here, or he tries to go off these few squares, and then it either comes into your arm and you get a great armbar touch, Or that's where now Lucas can help out. And he now goes, if it's right side of the sweet spot, Lucas would come this way. If it was the left side of the net, it would then go this way. If it's dead center, then Lucas, you just have to choose one way, but make sure you're prepared mainly for Johnny's touch because he's the one taking most of the range. Again, a negative of pull and push where you're struggling to get to the range when the ball gets that short sweet spot.
If do you think it's better to just like choose at random, or maybe like be right behind him and be ready for Jonathan to be like 100% in front of the net and be ready for his touch?
Yeah, I think in this case, it's better to now go to one side, but don't commit so hard to one side that you can't now react off Johnny's touch. Because what's going to happen most time is Johnny's going to get a touch because he's going to take so much range. And the worst thing you can do is you start running all the way out here with Pitt's turn. Johnny gets an amazing touch that lands somewhere here. Johnny's on the floor trying to get up, but you ran away because you was trying to help him when actually you didn't really help him because, you was running away. So in these scenarios, it's like, imagine you're being out in defense. Imagine you can't get into the range. The best thing you can do is now be super reactive off your partner's touch instead of, turning hits or running outside the 7-foot circle. Just be neutral. Know that this is now a consequence of being in pull and push. If this sets ball short sweet spot, you're going to struggle to get towards your range. But Johnny's going to have fantastic point A form and take as much as he can. This ball could go anywhere because it's a point A touch. Now you're super reactive in making up to Johnny by now making a great recovery set after his could be wild touch. That all makes sense. Awesome. So then, so those were some big pointers. There's a few more that we're going to touch on as we go through. I just want to go through a few clips sort of naturally as we go and watch some of the game and just talk about some of these things. And I might just reference some of the things we talked about. So now hopefully you guys can also see them. And this is the first one because we talked about this earlier too. So in open defense, we preferably want to start here because it's our shortest pathway to get towards the open. Because usually the landing zone is going to go somewhere here for the receive because it demands low level of footwork for him, low level of footwork for him to get in system. Rasmus setting there, Emil getting opposite. But as we're seeing a lot is, again, sometimes this receive will come short, but also sometimes this hitter will actively shuffle in front of you. And now there's not quite a gap between them, so we can't really be in the open defense. And this also happens a lot whenever we're serving a wide right cup towards two defenders. And so again, when this happens a lot, we have to make a choice. Johnny, you either start here, and if you get boxed out, you switch to pull and push, or you start behind Rasmus, and if anywhere this ball goes inside this zone here, you actually run round this way, Johnny. That way you're not boxed out and you can still be on the open. Or you start where you're at, and then you hope that the receive lands where it's usually predictable, and then you're still within your open. Because the worst consequence of when we do these wide serves towards our partner is our partner then gets pinned like Johnny does here. And now you're great at the distance to the ball to the net, Johnny, and you're really struggling to play defense. Now, this ball ends up going a little bit over the rim, a bit too high, and therefore you both get the opportunity to play defense. But if Rasmus was a little bit more aware of you, Johnny, he should set Emil anywhere on his right hand right now, and there's zero chance you're going to get to any of the range versus Lucas. And we see this happen quite often. And you actually adapt to this really well, Johnny. As we go through this game, I want to show you, because it happens a lot. So look at this. So right now, Lucas, you're starting here now because you may have even saw what happened to Johnny. And you're like, shit, I don't want that to happen to me. And so now you start on this side of Emil. And then Johnny hits a right serve, but this one's now a more predictable landing zone. And so now, whether you started right side behind him or left side, you had enough time to get to the open defense. It was just like we talked about earlier, your starting position, which hurt you a little bit to get in system. But
yeah,
it's like this starting position. If Johnny hits the lefty right now, look, if Emil now receives it, he doesn't, but it'll happen again. You continue going. I'm just going to do it because Johnny makes this adaptation as well. I just want to show you. So now this time, Johnny once again chooses to start in between. And you can see, Johnny, you're in a better spot here, one foot in front of the other. wide lefty, but again, you're taking a step back when really you should be, if you want to take a step back, start further back. You only want to be going forward, because now you have to go backwards and then forwards. And now Emil's shuffled in front of you again. He's decided to shuffle in front of you, force you guys in pull and push. And this is fine. And then again, we need to identify this and say, switch. Johnny, stay neutral. Don't choose one side. Stay neutral, except that you don't have the time to get in your open defense spot anymore. If you keep on moving towards your open defense spot, you're going to get caught in motion. And this motion might not be moving towards the range. And the range is the most important thing. And that's the range. Right-handed sweet spot. Pull line is here. Push line is there. And you just got caught just still trying to move towards the open. When if you'd have got neutral right now and you'd have got 1 foot in between Rasmus's feet and accept that you're neutral, he wouldn't be able to see you. And now you'd still have the time and the opportunity to take the pull. But now he sees you that you're really committed towards this left side, and therefore he knows he might have you on a right-handed pull. If you stay hidden and you accept that you're now in the pull position, and Lucas, you say switch. Lucas, you come 1 step in. Johnny, you go 1 step towards your right, hopefully before this ball is set. So you're in neutral position, not seen by Rasmus, and now you're ready for both pulls, instead of committing hard to one side and then being outpulled. Again, this switch skill is just so important, just because we're going to have to do it, and it will happen in the chaos, and happen especially when players are shuffling our system. And so open defense for you guys, great. So this is a more predictable landing zone, great reverse, nice receive. You guys are now in system. Ball gets set bullseye. Both of you do a great job in coming in. It's a great hand on a really hard touch. And now we can just see what we talked about a little bit earlier in just try to avoid turning your hips here, Lucas. You're making such a great effort in trying to help Johnny as much as you can, try and take this range. But the millisecond you turn those hips facing away from the net, you now have to turn them a full 180 degrees to try to help with this touch. And so this extra effort is not usually worth it. It would be better if you just stay hip spacing the net, makes your body massive, so any ball that hits you go up. You can still reach with your arms, and now you're ready to move in case any touch is made, due to your hip mobility being more prepared. It's a real
I think there I thought, because he's doing lefty backhand, that push is my hit that I need to defend.
Well, this right,
which is why
I read this more as a bullseye. I read this more as a bullseye stand. So therefore, you both did a great job in coming closer, because Rasmus has 360 degrees. He could go in this direction. He just opts for a lefty flick very early. And as he opts for a lefty flick very early, he chooses to do a push flick. But again, the closer the ball is set to the middle of the net, the closer we want to be. And you guys do both a great job in coming in. And now, again, it's always going to be a hard touch, because it's going to be low, it's going to be fast when the ball's set bullseye. So these are like extra, these are bonus points, because we're not always expected to get a touch here on bullseye sets. But you still managed to get a touch. It was just then the consequence of trying to give even more that then hurt you for the secondary action. Usually it's better for us to car losses, facing the net, maximize our reach, than it is making extra efforts and extra dives, because this extra effort, extra dive actually usually reduces in a poorer quality of touch, because so many variables are moving, versus just sticking in our position and maximizing our hand-eye coordination and our reaction time. And there's a good example of that a little bit later. So look at this example. This is a perfect one we talk about. So Johnny, perfect example of you now adapting. You saw this first serve and you was like, I didn't like where Emil received this. And you saw that Emil received it in a position where you're going to get pinned again. And this is what we do as top players. We identify this and we now go, okay, look at what you do, Johnny. Next point, okay, I'm going to go this side. I don't want to get pinned again. And then look what happens. He receives it in the same position. Look how you guys aren't pinned now. You wouldn't have been able to get to it. Now you're in a great spot, Johnny. So again, you can either choose to start behind Rasmus and then go right once you see it landing in this zone, or you start left side, and again, now it's harder work for you. You might have to change to pull and push. Or you just commit early to this side, and now you play open on this side, and now Jonathan has a little bit more work to get more to his right. to ensure you guys are fully opposite, so you're not suspect to this righty ball. But oftentimes the setter will not set this ball on this righty ball. The setter will usually often set it in this area here because they don't want to demand too much footwork of the hitter because the hitter's currently out of system. He's not out the net and ready. So he wants to make it a little bit easier for Emil, and which he does, and which you guys can play on, which is why we can manipulate principles and not have to be opposite all the time because we can now manipulate them being out of system. Great job. Great spots. Good touch. Talk. Emil Erasmus. And now in open defense. And this is just, it's a tough hit. The only thing I would say, Johnny, and only because everyone and myself included watches your game, and I'm sure a lot of people, are big fans of your game and your games together, guys, is that I say this to people who have very great hitting technique. I just say, you've got so much magic, Johnny. I would just save that magic for when you need it. Try to not use it all the time, because if you use it all the time, you end up then just, running out when it's needed. And some players don't have magic. Some players just do the basics really well a lot of the time. You have magic, but just try to not force the magic. Otherwise, it can lead to errors because we don't have unlimited amount. Just for that example, I just think a better choice would have just been a low open right now towards Lucas.
Yeah,
and just taking, not always the max squares, taking the majority squares right towards Lucas, anywhere right side, left side, but low, and it would have been, I think, a better choice. Okay, so I think we covered a lot on the initial things I talked about the switch principle. We talked about starting positions, how it will help you guys so much in getting in system more. The left hand and mechanical touch. We talked about Johnny. We talked about the pins, the hip rotation in defense. Why top players make it. We just talked about that. Okay, next one. So 3 minutes in, you guys are playing. Right. So we're in open defense. Great. We finally got back in system again. And we've done this because the landing zone was predictable and you both had a short journey to get there. Nice. And now as soon as this ball gets landing here, this ball looks like it's landing around the rim, maybe 1 or 2 squares in from the rim. And so in this scenario, if we're playing traditional open defense, Johnny, you're the funnel and you get across to your range. Lucas, you should have enough time to hopefully get to point B, which is the balance of time and range. Now, as this ball gets lowered, Johnny's coming around, doesn't have time to get towards his perfect point B position. And point B, again, is defined by the area it's landing on the net. It's landing bullseye, the closer we are. If it's landing over the rim, we can back up a little bit because we give ourselves more time to react rather than being so close. Because the further it goes off net, the less range the hit has. And the less range, the more time we get. And so, Johnny, you don't quite have time to get to point B, obviously, because you have a long journey to go from here towards your point B position, which would be ideally over here, right hand taking the max push. And so you do great funneling through, taking A1, A2. And then I would love, Lucas, if you could back up a little bit more. I think if you back up, you give yourself more time and you also have the opportunity to get a better touch. And then, Jonathan, as you now come on your rotation, this left hand needs to hug this left rim. When we're funneling, it's anytime this ball goes below our funnel, it means that we're not taking our range because our range starts from the lowest possible hit that Rasmus could take. At least if this goes above your arm, there's a chance now Lucas could still touch it because it's going to be slower, higher, maybe even a boom ball. But if it goes beneath your arm within your range, Johnny, there's nothing Lucas can do. And so really try and hug that rim, get that left arm even lower and as lateral as you can and as close as you can to the rim, like a goalkeeper in football. The closer you get towards the ball, the more range you're taking. And right now, your time is pretty poor. So you might as well maximize your range and bring that arm even closer towards the rim. Again, Kazi, Tim, Emerson, they're great players that are looking for this. And it makes such a big difference.
Now, you had the touch, right? It was just... if your hand is low, it probably goes up a little more.
Form was just not good.
Had your hand
like
in
right here.
It just hits the bottom of your fingertips. Had your hand been another 20 centimeters closer, you would have still taken up all of that range. And now it would have more likely come off the middle of your hand versus the bottom fingers. Because your hand would have taken, let's say this range is let's say Rasmus there's all this 50% of range. The closer you are, the more range you're taking. And so your surface area gets way bigger the closer you bring this arm towards the rim. And so had you had it a little bit closer to the rim, it probably would have come straight off your palm, maybe your forearm, but either way, you would have taken way more of the range just by being that little bit closer. Do a couple more. I think there's one more big one. 424. So again, this is something we all do. We'll play the rally out first, just because all the pro players do it, all the contender players do it, all the intermediate players, we all do it. Set. Where's Emil going right now? Right, he's gone. Johnny, you did a great touch. Right, Lucas, you're saying from outside the circle. Emil's managed to get back. Great. And now, Lucas, watch your movement right now. You set. You're watching. You took a step back. You're watching. Emil, Rasmus takes a touch. You're still at the same distance. And now you're coming in. And now you're greater than the distance towards the net. You're not able to play defense. Again, this set is a little bit off, so it gives Johnny time to turn and run. But had this set been Emil taking this underhand inside the no-hit zone, and he gives Rasmus a quick one on his left hand, there's zero chance you can affect the game. And so we all need to get this in a habit, because this happens to everyone in this rally. First on Emil, then on you. We need to, if we want to win rallies and we've got to get better, and we want to get better at defense, we've got to bang, get back in system. Lucas, bang, get back in system. Even Emil here, look, Emil's step, and then he runs out the way. Look how far Emil's going. There's no need for us ever to leave 8 feet. So if we step with inside 7 feet, don't go further than 8 feet. You want to give right of way to the defense, but don't go more than 8 feet, just outside the service line. And if you're setting from outside the service line, like Lucas, you are here, then get back to at least 8 feet as soon as possible. Because it's unlikely a ball's going to be put away from an out of distance step very often.
I remember like setting it, and then 1 second after realizing, whoa, I'm so far off the net, I need to run closer. And it happened a lot that day. And we like already talked about this. We are aware of that problem, but it's like really tough to get this habit out.
Yes. It's so sad that we lived in a world. It's so sad that we lived in a world where we just had to set and we didn't have to worry about anything for so long. We just could set and then we just boom it outside the boundary. So we just enforced this bad habit. Whereas now it's hurting us to play defense. And no wonder why we don't have as many defensive rallies as we could, because we're not ever getting back in system during the rallies.
But you're right. If it was the standard or the default that you have like rallies going 3 or 4 changes, then no one would be standing that far off the net. Because like you know, next time I will get the touch, I need to be ready for my next defense after setting. But like, as you said before, usually you just, if the set is good, the ball is put away and you don't have to move forward anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And now that you see it, you can't unsee it. Watch Emil right now. Watch you right now. Watch Emil right now.
I had to move like.
We're all backing up just so far. Yeah. Again, that's just a habit we all have. We're all trying to train, including myself. It's just crazy how bad we've done this for so long. Okay, the last couple of flips I have for you guys. So,
what was the illegal serve? I want to know.
From Emil, his lefty.
Oh yeah, it was just a no.
Emil, his lefty serve on you.
Yeah,
I think it was the like error.
It was. Yeah, it was illegal because
I recognize
the right foot shouldn't rise before the ball hits the net, and the right foot's fully off the floor right now.
So early.
Yeah, and this is why, again, this serve, in my opinion, again, I've talked about this before, it just should be banned, just because how can you call this in live? You just can't call this live. Even with observers, like none of the observers called it. And yet it's clear now that his right foot has lifted before the ball hits the net, which gives him an additional reach to now hit a little bit more lane and get a little bit more reach to now hit a lefty serve. It's an unfair advantage that can't be called in the moment, even with observers. We're just waiting for somebody to lose a quarterfinal, semi-final at Worlds for then this to be brought up. We need to bring this up much earlier. So we should just not allow this type of serve. If you cannot call it immediately in the moment, I struggle to see how we can allow it to be illegal, because small margins define games. And if people do this again and again, that's the difference in win or losing your round of 16, quarterfinal, semi-final, ETS, or Worlds. So yeah, it's a tough one. But I didn't want to talk much about that. I just put it in my notes. You just spotted my notes. All right, let's get back to last couple of clips. Okay, so good serve. Again, Johnny chose a good spot. You tried it to be this side this time. Again, you just didn't. You hated being boxed out. But usually, if Lucas is serving right-handed, it's a lot less likely you're going to get boxed out now. It's only usually when Lucas serves left-handed we get boxed out. We make that decision. So you can either start this side, that side, or behind, and then make the decision. But just be aware that now it gets set here. You're a little bit now struggling. You guys aren't really in open because Johnny, preferably you would be here. Lucas would be here. You guys are sort of trying to still get opposite each other because that's what maybe your sort of brain is telling each other. But it all stemmed from then being and choosing this side. Lucas is now thinking, oh, damn, I got to get opposite Johnny. Johnny's thinking, I wanted to get in the open, but I can't get across Emil. Lucas is now sort of pinned in between the open and in between the pool. If this ball does get set for the right hand and Erasmus hits a pull or a left-handed flick pull, whose job is it? And it's really hard to tell. And so Lucas is like, shit, I really need to get to that pull in case he hits it. I want to get opposite. But now you're unfortunately moving against where the ball is being set because you was trying to get to your sort of position. But that position no longer matters. Wherever you're in, wherever how much you either messed up or you managed to get in system, feet down, and now it's all about reading the set. It no longer matters that you weren't opposite or anything. Everything matters now about where is this set landing and then reading that range. And that ball looks like it's more set here. Just short, sweet spot, and this is the range. And so your preference would be, in the end, to come this side, Lucas. But again, the first domino got set from this. You guys didn't manage to get in system when the ball was set. And if you're not in system, are you in open? Are you in pull and push? If you're in pull and push, say switch. Then put your feet down, Lucas. Jonathan, come closer to take more range. Or, Jonathan, start behind Emil, and now you're prepared to go left or right, depending on where that landing zone goes. And if you started behind him, ball goes there. Jonathan, you come round this way, and then you guys are in perfect open. And you get to play defense more. So it's just like, it's always small things, but it's just like usually the first domino that impacts and hurts us. Does that all make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, it does.
Sure. So last clip is then just a fun example. Okay, so this has happened a lot, and this also happened a lot when you guys played us in the Bundesliga. And I think I talked about in the previous seeing Roundnet session that you was joining, Johnny. But so right now you guys are in open defense, right? You're trying to, Lucas, you're more on the righty open of Emil. Jonathan, you could go a couple more steps just in case this ball doesn't get set on the left-handed sweet spot. You're a long way from this pool. But overall, you guys are in decent spots. You're both within the distance towards the net. You're in decent spots. Okay, ball now gets set left side rim. Like I would say on the left-handed rim, maybe a couple of squares in from the nets. Now, if we're playing true open defense, traditional open defense, what we call it, Lucas, your job would be to be the funnel here because you've got the longest journey to get towards your point B position, which is over here, Lucas, because you would take the push. Johnny takes the pull. And then, Johnny, you have the shortest distance to get towards your point B position, which is just maybe a shuffle step to here. And then you take Emil's pull. Now, that's traditional open defense. So the person who has the longest journey towards their point B position, i.e. Lucas in this scenario, because it's on Emil's left hand, he becomes the funnel. And then Johnny, you back up and you get to enjoy being at point B, enjoy using your hands, having a good quality of touch because you're way further off the net and you get time to react. You don't have to make it a body touch. This is an example, and you guys played a lot of this when we played the Bundesliga game, is what we like to call inverted open defense. This is where the person who now ideally should have the shortest journey to B becomes the funnel. And now, Lucas, you don't need to funnel. You can actually go back to point B right now because Johnny's taken his 50% and he's taken it at point A. So, Lucas, you don't need to come in here and funnel and double body. You actually get the opportunity to go to B. And that's what happens. Johnny, you get a really good touch. Lucas, just be careful of turning your hips. Try to keep facing the net when you're going through to point B. Otherwise, if this does get hit on a lefty push right now, then you're struggling to get any good touch with your right hand because of hit mobility. But then a great touch.
Yeah.
Again, can we be really conscious even during the rallies of trying to set towards the majority? Because this will always happen where we have defenders who are out of system during rallies. Can you now set Johnny left-handed sweet spot a little bit lower? And then it would be absolutely GG's because Rasmus has such a long way to go. I know it's very hard, but I don't know if both of you have played football before, but the analogy I like to use and a lot of people like to use is salt, pepper. Where's salt? Where's pepper? Can you try to build an understanding of where they are just before your point of contact? And that can help you dictate the preference and landing zone you're giving your hitter. And you can make it a really more comfortable game against players who don't always get back in system if you're able to see them and then find the majority.
Yeah. Honestly, here I was just trying to not completely whiff the set, but you're completely
That's
right.
such a nice moment that everyone is watching. That's the same thing that everyone's thinking, right? Everyone thinks we all as elite players are just thinking, we're thinking about this, thinking about this. Sometimes we're just thinking about, all right, just a good set anywhere near the net, anywhere near the net. No one's perfect.
Yeah, I mean the touch is so high, and I come right out of running. Maybe that's a little some, but I'm thinking like better just give Jonathan a possibility to hit it, and because it's not an easy set. But you're right, like there, like setting it on Jonathan's lefty pull would be the optimal set for sure.
Yeah. And again, this is a tough skill, and especially during the chaos of rallies, it can be difficult. But if you can start by doing it more and more when you're playing in just the first possession, then you'll be able to do it very comfortably and naturally during the rally too. And that's why we as athletes and as setters, we have so much room to grow if we're able to take that information consciously into our heads, even during the chaos of a rally. Last clip, then is the final one. So Johnny, then just be careful with those feet. You can just see it again, just a little bit too close, not one foot in front of the other. It's just going to cost you. You're going to go 1 foot in front of the other, and then you're going to move. So you go, say left foot back, and then you push off. I would love for you to start here, right foot down, and start in this position. Now, you guys, you just caught a little bit.
Just start in split stance.
Sorry, Johnny.
I just said that I just have to start in split stance.
And then as this ball's in set, that just costs you a little bit to again be in system. Ideally, we want to have both feet down like Lucas is here. Because now Lucas can push off left, right, forward, back. It's very comfortable for Lucas to move anywhere he needs to go right now when he's in athletic stance reading the set. Johnny, you can't move left, not as if you need to right now, but you can't move left until you plant this right foot. And your hips are quite high because of this, again, the initial starting position, the first domino hurting just a little bit. Anyway, ball then gets set, again, over the rim. Johnny, you don't have full time to get towards your point B position because you were a little bit late to get in system, so you didn't have as much time as you would have liked to get a little bit further back because this ball is set, not very over central. It's quite over the rim. And then it's just Lucas just getting your distance just a little bit wrong. Lucas, could you be a little bit further back right now and now ensure you get that little bit more time to react? Because your position is great. It's just your distance that slightly lets you down. You could afford to be one more step back right here. You would still touch Emil's max open/pull. And then you would give yourself a lot more time to react. And that time is so valuable, especially when balls are coming quick. And we all and pro players have great reaction times. So if we can utilize them more by just getting that small detail of just one more step back, it'll be crazy difference in the quality of touch we have.
Would you say it would be better to take steps back or come closer to the net for Lucas on that ball? Because everything is happening so fast, and I'm struggling very much to cover my space up.
That's a great point. So a lot of the times when we see our partner sometimes struggle, our default can be, damn, we've got to come in and take more range because our partner probably won't be able to help. And so it's understandable that Lucas can see you right now, see you're not fully in system. And so therefore Lucas is probably thinking, damn, I need to probably take a bit more in this scenario. Jonathan, you managed to make up your distance and your range pretty well. And again, the set is quite over the rim, which reduces the range Emil has. And so Lucas, right now, you're actually in a good spot. You just now need to put your feet down and realize this ball is over the rim and try to back up. Instead, you just come that little bit forward. And now you just stay and you tried it again, which is great in regards that you stay to maximize your time. But as soon as you read this ball is over the rim, I think the ideal position would be further back. Trust Johnny to do his funnel, even if he's late. And if Johnny's late towards his funnel, then Lucas, you got to say to Johnny, yo, Johnny, you've got to do your job. Because if you're constantly reacting off your partner not doing their job, you're going to sometimes get caught too close when you don't need to be, or you're going to now not trusting your partner, and that's not a good place to be either. So you got to trust him to do his job, and then you got to do your job, Lucas. Otherwise, you could also build a bad habit where you're often coming too close when you don't need to be because your partner's not taking their range. But then when he starts taking his range, you've built this habit of coming close when you don't need to. So try to do your job and then ask Johnny to do his. And if he doesn't, then tell Johnny to do his. And that will serve you much better as a duo in the future than reacting a little bit in the moment again and again. Does all of that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, surely.
I'm just like, was not used to, in this case, Jonathan taking the close one, or as you say, like the player takes the short path and then the player who's in good position can go back. Like usually I see a lot of people doing it, as you call it, inverted open defense, because it felt more natural or something. I don't know, like going onto the push as the player who's late, like running behind, running to the back, and the other one being in front. It happens a lot.
Yeah, it does. And that's like you guys can make the conscious decision of, do you want to play traditional open defense or do you want to play inverted? Usually the best way is if you have one player who's fantastic at point A and you want them to do point A as much as possible, then you can say, hey, no matter where the set is, Johnny, you're going to be the funnel. So if this ball gets set on the left hand of Emil, Johnny, you're coming in and now we're playing inverted. If this ball got set on the right hand of Emil, then Johnny, you're going to funnel and you're going to come round this. Imagine this ball was landing here. Johnny, you're now coming round and you're getting to A1, A2, getting all your body inside that range, you're 50%. And so now it's super clear. Johnny, your job the whole game is you're going to play point A defense. And Lucas, your job the whole game is point B. And now wherever that ball gets set, whether it be on the left hand, Lucas, you take the push at B. If it be on the right hand, Lucas, you take the pull at B. And regardless, Johnny, you're either covering the pull if it gets set on Emil's left hand at point A, or you're funneling the push if it gets set on his right hand at point A. So you have your clear role and responsibility. The worst thing you can do is sometimes not have these roles clear, sometimes be reacting off one another. Oh, Johnny's close, now I go to B. Oh, Johnny's far, now I should funnel. Because that's really hard calculation to make depending on your partner in the moment. You've already got so many variables to read with the sets. So it's ideal if you have a clear system in saying, Johnny, you're the funnel of this game, or we're just going to play traditional open defense. And whoever has the longest journey is going to be the funnel. Or we're just going to play inverted defense.
What?
That's a bit harder.
What do you think, like, how do you make this choice? Because like there's probably a trade-off, right? If we have like one player being better at point A and one better at point B, maybe that's the best.
Yes.
But usually maybe like the normal open defense is the better choice because you have like a more balanced time to get in your positions. Whereas in the one, you have one person who's always being late.
Yep.
Usually.
So
what do you think? Like, is this like just a trade-off to do if someone's really good at one defense, or is it always the better choice to do normal open defense?
It's a great question and something that I think a lot of players think about. It's usually dependent on our abilities as a team. So let's say Johnny is absolutely incredible at point A and we want him at point A as often as always, then having and saying you're going to be the point A defender makes his role super clear and your now role, Lucas, super clear. And now whether you end up in inverted or traditional open defense, that will depend on where the set's landing. But regardless, Johnny knows he's doing his funnel and he's going to be close inside the no-hit zone. And then Lucas, you can just always get to point B. You never have to worry about funneling. So this, again, the first reason of why we play it is maximizing our abilities. The second reason of why we could play it is playing against the hitter. There's some hitters who just only love to pull it. And if they only love to pull it, just putting someone in the position that Johnny is right now, it forces them to either hit straight into the defender or they end up hitting pushes, which is a lot weaker of a shot. And so this is a fantastic system to play, i.e. the inverted open defense, when you're playing against a hitter who really dislikes doing anything other than a pull. And you know there's a lot of hitters out there, especially in the pro division, that just love to do pull shots. And so when is it better to play either? Primarily dependent on your abilities, but also is dependent on the hitter's abilities. And that can dictate whether you want to play inverted, open, or, which I prefer, you just say, hey, you're playing point A this whole game, I'm playing point B this whole game. Or you switch it. Or you just play regular open defense and then you're prepared to switch in case you ever get caught out in pull and push.
Because nice insights. I think like for the long run, maybe it's a little bit bad if you say I'm only playing point A and you're only playing point B, because then you're losing the ability to play the other position or not learning to play it better. Because like that's maybe also a trade-off, but
I totally agree. But when it's tournament, it's all about winning. You can always practice all the other defenses and all the other roles during practice. But then when it comes to tournament, now, hey, Johnny's just fantastic at point A. Let's put him in point A as much as possible. And if, Lucas, or you're amazing in point A all the time, hey, let's get Lucas in point A as often as possible. And so I wouldn't say you should always do one, because you need to be prepared to play other systems and other partners sometimes. But if you're now looking to maximize your ability coming into a tournament, play what you're best at, but try to master all of them during your time together in practice.
If there's like a perfect world where both players are perfect in both positions, would you recommend?
Regular open defense for sure. Yeah. Mastering regular open defense and playing open defense. Then the only time I would change, if we're both perfect, then the only times I would ever then change if I'm playing against a hitter who only loves to pull and I don't want to turn to pull push. Because pull push has its consequences and it has its cons where, again, especially the pull player is going to be great in the distance of the ball to the nets. And that's a huge, 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 really bad downside, really negative impact of pull and push. Whereas you can still protect that pull by playing inverted. So in the perfect world, I would play regular open, and then I would adapt to inverted if I played against a hitter who was struggling to defend, because often the flick pulls can be incredibly difficult to defend in the regular open defense, because it's usually a long way to go from starting in opens, then getting to the max pull.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.